Hello, hello. Welcome to Soul Good. I'm Amber Marie, and it's a blessing and a pleasure to be here with you. So thank you so very much for being here with me. Whether you've tripped and stumbled into this video or you wandered in voluntarily, I'm so grateful for you being here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Whoever I'm speaking to, you've been stitching yourself back together. And I feel like this has been a long process. This is not something that just started yesterday or last week or last month even. I would even be surprised if it was limited to just this year. Whoever I'm speaking to, it seems to me that you have been on a journey to light for probably a vast majority of your life. I feel as though you may have experienced a lot of, what would we call them, detours. There's this start-stop kind of energy, or feeling as though you've had to start over again and again and again. The interesting thing about this, though, as I said in the beginning, I feel like you're stitching yourself back together. And this has required every bit of your strength, every bit of your courage, every bit of your wisdom, every bit of your faith. This has certainly been no easy task. For some of you, trigger warning, I feel as though you may have been working through some PTSD. Now, I was picking up on two different energies with this PTSD. One of them could be related to military service or experiencing this internal battle. Feeling as though you're constantly in this state of survival. So it could be either of those things, or you could be someone who's experienced a type of abuse. And this isn't something that was short-lived. This abuse that I'm picking up on is something that may have seemed to follow you. You may have experienced, again, this kind of repeating of patterns with certain types of abuse, and it could be any type of abuse, okay? If you resonate with this, I feel as though you're someone who has been healing that, or this could also be something that has been carried down through the line. This abuse could have been carried down the line. So the PTSD that I'm picking up on could come from going to actual war or being in service in the military. It could be from this battle that you've experienced within yourself, or it could be that you've experienced abuse, and that abuse could have been something that was carried through the line. So, for example, it could have been your father's father's father, and you deciding that it stops with you. It could have been, your grandmother and your mother. I'm just saying, the things that you've experienced may have also been experienced by others in your line. And I feel as though you and your beautiful soul decided it stops with me. Ooh, that just gave me chills. It stops with me. Certainly, this has been no easy undertaking. I feel as though it has been or felt quite dark, quite lonely, and as I stated earlier, has required every bit of your strength, your courage, your faith. But I feel like you're coming out of this. I feel as though things are shifting, things are changing. I feel as though you've been stitching yourself back together after a lifetime of feeling as though you've existed in darkness. But I feel like there's a sense of struggling, being in this state of kind of tug of war with these former versions of yourself. Whoever I'm speaking to, you are consciously aware of these things that no longer serve you. You are consciously and intentionally working to free yourself from them. So there's an awareness that this is here. And you may not yet be into this new version of yourself, this reborn version of yourself. There seems to be this kind of in-between feeling. But you know that you don't want that. Whatever it is that you have been working to heal from, that you are consciously aware is not going to serve you, will not serve you. You want, as a matter of fact, I feel that I have this very strong feeling that you want nothing to do with it. But there's a sense of frustration because it's almost as if you're trying to take a step forward. You're trying to move beyond it. You're trying to leave it in the rear view mirror. But every time you turn around, there it is. Every time you turn around, there it is. There it is. There it is. And you're like, God, why? Why can I not escape this? What is going on? And if that is true, then I feel as though there is a message here for you. Okay? Now, I was getting some things that may provide additional confirmation for some. And I just want to point out, even if you don't hear anything that I'm about to rattle off, even if you don't hear anything that resonates with you straight away, please know that there still is likely to be something here for you. These things that I'm bringing up are to get the attention of those that need to kind of, like, the way that I see it is kind of like God, the angels, the universe grabbing your face and saying, no, look here. Okay, it's one of those things, right? Like if you're walking the street and someone calls out your name and you look, very similar. It's like, look here, pay attention, make sure you're locked in, make sure you're engaged, make sure you are, absorbing, make sure that you are paying attention here, because there is likely something incredibly important. So with that being said, I was getting some names. So I was getting Naomi, Jaleesa, Juan, Michael, Jacoby, Norma, and Ezekiel. Now with Ezekiel, this could also be a reference to God strengthens. It's my understanding that biblically, the translation for Ezekiel is God strengthens. If Ezekiel, the name itself, isn't resonating with you, there could be someone listening who would resonate very deeply with going through this process, this uncovering of yourself by God's grace, with God's strength. I feel as though there's this, I could not have done this on my own. There's no way I could have done this on my own, because I feel like it's tested you that much. It has asked that much of you, that there is a very deep reverence. There's a very deep love and appreciation for God walking you through your life, God walking you through this healing process, God walking you through the darkness. Okay? So take that if it resonates. I was also getting the name Warren, Warren. I also got the name Lily. There was also a reference to lilies, the flowers, so that could be something significant for someone. And I was also seeing a red ribbon blowing in the wind. I have no idea why that's relevant or for who, but it's there. I was also getting, for someone, I don't know who this is for, or maybe a couple of people, you may be someone who, and this is, it's kind of weird saying this because we are encroaching on the Thanksgiving holiday in the States. So I know this is kind of strange to say, but, and maybe a little bit obvious, or I don't know how to explain it. It just seems like this is kind of like well, naturally that would be the case type of scenario. But I feel like for some of you, you could be traveling for the holiday, and or New York and Chicago could be significant for someone listening as well. Now, again, very interesting little pieces that have been coming through. But again, these are just additional signs of confirmation. These are just things that are coming through, I feel like, that are going to kind of grab the attention of those that have something here for them. You could also have been seeing repeating 4s and 5s. Okay. So 2 other things just quickly. I feel like there could be someone watching who has a deep tie to, or the movie It's a Wonderful Life could be incredibly significant for someone. That has been showing up a lot. I keep hearing the line every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. So that could be something significant for someone. Okay, let's get into what messages you may be needing to hear. All right. Please, Father, Mother, Life, Christ, Universe, Spirits, Guides, Angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves, what messages does whoever's listening need to hear right now, please? Keep in mind this is a timeless reading, but pointing out the travel for the Thanksgiving holiday, I feel like is because there's going to be someone watching this right around this time when this is going to be released. Okay, so to start off here, we have for you, wow, oh my good golly, the law of divinity. Within you is the same source that created the entire universe. Some of you have been finding Christ within you, or you've been developing a relationship with Christ, God, the universe, whatever you call it. I call it God, I call it Christ. So feel free to insert whatever word works for you. But I feel as though there are some of you that have been discovering that aspect of yourself within. You have been developing this connection with that which is greater than you, but is also within you. We are the embodiment of the cosmos. And I feel like this is something that you may have been connecting with. I also feel that there's been a lot of work here done in purifying your soul. She's wearing white, all white. That is bringing forth this symbol of purification, being, I just got the word cloaked. So so I got the word cloaked. You may be someone who has felt cloaked, felt hidden, felt as though you've been on an island. And I feel like this has been intentional. I feel as though this is something that was orchestrated by God, by the angels, to position you to lean into Christ within you, to position you to lean into God more than yourself, more than your own understanding. If you look at the doorway, the gateway there, that she is standing just beneath, one side of that gateway is very rough, very natural looking. The other side of that gateway looks as though it's been built, right? It's been carefully constructed, carefully put together. And I feel as though, and this is bringing through how you have been refined. You have been refined, I feel. She's even looking to the side that has been smoothed out. And that I feel is, I'm getting fear. I feel that's symbolic of looking at that finished side of the doorway there is symbolic of looking to the future, symbolic of leaving the past behind. What else? The law of intention, give up complaining. Earlier, I was speaking about how there seems to be this tug of war going on between the former version of you and this current version of you. The former version of you, the version of you that you are trying to leave behind, that you are trying to let go of, that you are fully aware you need to let go of, maybe the challenge in that may be stemming from telling the same stories, especially to yourself, but also when you're speaking to other people. It's like having a TV show or a song or a movie on repeat or on a loop, and just over and over and over telling the same story, singing the same song. If you resonate with this is your sign to tell yourself a new story. That version, you are not that. You are not that story. I'm not saying that your story isn't valid or important. I'm not saying that your story doesn't have meaning, because it does. It truly, truly does. For thousands upon thousands of years, stories have been the way that we have connected to one another. It's so, so important. But it can also be, if we let it, to our detriment. Because we can tell ourselves the same stories and think that that is all there is. That's it. It's written, it's printed. There's no going back. But truth be told, this is your opportunity to write a new story. Whatever story has its hooks in, this is what seems to be perpetuating that tug of war. And perhaps why you haven't fully stepped into this new timeline, if you will, or this new experience, this new stage of your life, new chapter of your life, because you're still telling the same story. Notice how her back is turned. Leave the story behind. Leave the past behind. Both of these cards are indicating that. The law of action. Yes, get out of your comfort zone and take bold action today. Notice the doorway. Look how similar. Notice her back is turned and you're walking through the door a new being. Look at the light. If you can, if it'll focus, please focus. Let's see. Look at the light in the wolf's eyes. You are something new now. And this law of action card is asking you to leave behind those stories, to allow yourself a new beginning. And it's, again, it's not that your story isn't relevant. It's not that your story isn't meaningful. It's that this particular story and the way that it's being told is not conducive to your evolution. It's not conducive to the life you are creating. It's not conducive to the future. And so, where you may have been telling this story of being caged, let's say, or having experienced situations where you felt like you were the victim, which is not to say that that's not true. But again, it is rewriting the story, rethinking the way you tell it. An example from my own experience, there was a situation that I went through with someone really important in my life where I really struggled to find forgiveness because I felt as though I had been the victim. I had been betrayed. I had been taken advantage of. I'd been harmed. And it took a long time for me to figure this out. But I came to this point where I had this realization that what I had experienced, though incredibly painful, was actually a gift. That the pain was a gift for me. It was a gift for me it was showing me over and over and over again, you do not love you. You do not love you. You have abandoned yourself. Reaching for this person, you have abandoned yourself. So while the things I experienced were by no means acceptable from a moral standpoint, it delivered me a gift. It delivered me the eyes to see what I was doing to myself, what I was allowing. And so once I had that realization, I moved forward telling a different story. These things happened so that I could learn this about myself. That's not condoning that experience. That's not invalidating that experience, but it is telling a different story. It is telling a story where I found what I needed in order to be able to be strong for myself, in order to stand up for myself, in order to honor myself, in order to love myself. I hope that sharing that allows you to see it in your own life, or look at your own life and see where this may be showing up. Okay? Okay. What else, please? What other messages would be most helpful for whoever's listening? What messages would be most helpful for who's listening, please? Oh my good golly. Which card's in my hand right there? Okay, thank you. You could be drawn to this pink color. You could also be drawn to rose quartz currently. You may be going through a more feminine space. You may be experiencing more feminine energies. Whether you are male or female is irrelevant. We experience feminine and masculine energies, and you may be someone who is currently more in alignment with balancing these feminine energies out. So things like surrender, empathy, compassion, love, things like this. Creativity. Rose without thorns. You have a right to your joy, peace, sweetness of life. This brings me back to telling the same story. Sometimes when we experience trauma and pain in our lives, we let it define our life. And this card, I feel, is coming through to really drive home that this doesn't have to be your story. You have a right to your joy. You have a right to your peace. And whatever you may have experienced, perhaps that left you feeling undeserving or unworthy, or feeling as though you would never find it. Perhaps you felt as though you were being punished for something. I'm actually hearing you, okay, this could be confirmation for someone. You may have said, what did I do in a past life to deserve this? You may have actually said those words or something close to that. And I feel as though this is coming through to say, no, no, sweets. I feel like this is coming through to say, no, you have a right to your joy. You have a right to your peace. This doesn't have to be the end all be all. It doesn't have to just, this is it. The reunion, soul recognition, collaboration, partnership, friendship. Yeah, you may have felt as though you've been alone, for sure. You may have spent a lot of time alone, actually. You may have been going through this filtering of your relationships. You may have experienced a lot of things falling away. People, jobs, different things in your experience may have been falling away. And I feel this has all been to bring you home to yourself, to bring you home to God within you, to bring you home to Christ within you. This seems like one of those times, this may have been one of those times where God has wanted you all on your own. It feels very deliberate, very deliberate. It feels very much like trying to bring you back to yourself, trying to give you the space to be able to hear and connect with the you within you, to Christ within you, to God within you, to be able to hear Christ speaking to you, the angels speaking to you. So you may have experienced the loss of certain friendships or partnerships or collaborations or communities or family members or whatever it is, you may have experienced some of these things falling away. Now think about this for a moment. You may be someone who has felt incredibly lonely or isolated, abandoned, rejected. But I would like to ask you to consider, what if the gifts, talents, skills, abilities that you have, the purpose that God has over your life, what if those things within you are so important, are so valuable to God, are so valuable to Christ, are so valuable to how you can be of service to humanity, that God moved, the angels moved all of those people out of your life? Think about that for a moment. That just gave me full body chills. What if you are so valuable, you are so loved, that all of these people or situations, environments, experiences, etc., what if they've all been moved out of your life to get you to where you need to be, right? That is so profound. Right? Because we have to give up complaining here. You may have been someone who is looking around like, what did I do? Why me? Why me? Like, why does it have to be this way? Why this? Sweets. What if you are loved so much? You're loved beyond any measurement that you can fathom. You're loved so much that God moved everything out of your way. God moved everything away from you. Think about all of the people, all of the situations, in order to bring you to a space where you would remember who you are, where you would remember that Christ lies within you, God lies within you. Oh my good Lord. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. This is so good. And now, God is saying, Christ is saying, now the message that's coming is, do you not realize how loved you are? Do you not realize how valuable you are? Do you not realize that there is such a great purpose over your life that God would move mountains to bring you to it, or it to you, to position you that you could step into that role? Oh, praise the Lord. All of this has been done for you. For you. And in some cases, you're being separate from has also been for others to learn as well. So not only has the universe conspired, all of the angels, your guardian angels, Christ, all of these forces, not only have all of these forces been moving to get you all by yourself so you could remember God within you, you could hear Christ within you, but it's also been for you to be a lesson. It's also been so that God could use your situation, the things that you have went through, to teach others. For some, it's teaching them by removing you from their life. Even if they struggle to see it or refuse to see it or whatever the story may be. Just because God does it doesn't mean you have to accept it. Or perhaps God has done all of this so that ultimately, when everything is said and done, you're this testimony. God can use your story. The same one that once was a dark cloud over your head can become your ray of sunshine. Oh, thank you, Lord. Can become the thing that propels you. Get out of here. Full body chills. Cannot make this up. Are you freaking kidding me right now? After the rain, silver lining, relief, hope, mercy, it's over, acceptance. Look at the light. It's over. And as soon as you accept that that story is no longer your story because you're not the same person that you were whenever that unfolded, whether it's been your entire life or a couple of months or a couple of years or whatever the story is, however long you've endured this suffering, however long you've endured this pain, however long you've felt alone, however many tears you've cried, however much sweat has dripped off your brow, whatever story that you've been through, you're not that person. You're not. So that story is not the same story because you are not the same. And this is your opportunity to see the light. As soon as you accept that that is no longer your story. Ooh, I'm getting fear too, pardon me. Confirmation right there. As soon as you accept that that is not you, the word I'm getting is slingshot. Because I feel as though it's going to propel you forward. Because it's breaking you free from these chains that are wrapped around your ankles that you are dragging with every step you try to take forward. Tell a new story. It's time. It's time. It's over. The breathing rose, heart healing, emotions, connection, time eases. All of this has had to unfold in order to give you everything you've needed to heal. Or at least to try to give you everything you've needed to heal. To give you the space, right? The time to feel what you've needed to. And perhaps you need a little bit more of that, and that's okay. That's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Okay? We all stumble. We all fall off the wagon. We all make mistakes. We all experience doubt. We all experience fear. But this is your sign that you are ready. You're ready. Ooh. And my heart, I want to hug you. I want to hug you so bad because you're ready. You've done it. Even if you refuse to tell yourself that, or even if you have refused to tell yourself that, or if you've been too caught up in the rain to see it, you're ready. You are ready to heal fully. You're ready to break free. You're ready to breathe again. Okay. Wow, this is so powerful. Okay, anything else? I get this one here. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, let us see what we have. Yes, 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 leaving your old life behind. 6 of Swords, earned success. Come on, focus, please. You can't make this up. This is quite literally moving on. This is quite literally leaving your old life behind. Cannot make this up. This is exactly what I was talking about. We also have here the 2 of Wands, Dominion, showing up in the reverse. Yeah, this is taking back your power. This 2 of Wands in the reverse is taking back your power, I feel. But it requires, again, it requires leaving that story behind. Yeah, 2 of Wands is taking back your power. We also have here success unfulfilled with the 7 of Pentacles. Be patient. Be patient with yourself. As you work to take your power back, be patient with yourself as you build this new life. Okay? There's a very real acknowledgement of building from the foundation up. Because I feel, though, whatever you've been going through, this connection that you've created with that which is greater than yourself, so Christ, God, the angels, whatever it may be, it has broken down. I feel like it's brought you back to your foundations. This whole thing it's got tower energy where, you know, it's like everything came crashing down. And the work that I feel that has been being done, aside from all that it took to dismantle what you had built up to that point, your story, okay? I feel as though now you're rebuilding, but you're rebuilding on brand new foundations. And there's a sense of you've never been here before. You've never been here before. So be patient with yourself as you begin to rebuild, as you are planting these new seeds for your new life. Be patient. We also have here shortened force, funny AF, because we have the 8 of Swords. Again, she's under the impression that she's stuck there. And in all reality, all she has to do is, you know, shimmy over a little bit and you know, cut herself free, set herself free. All she has to do is shimmy over and set herself free by, you know, taking one of those swords to her bonds. You only remain in bondage so long as you believe that you are. But I feel as though whoever's listening, it's felt like this for a long time. And with that, I feel like it's important to acknowledge if you have indeed been experiencing what feels like bondage for a long time. It's only natural that it would be challenging and uncomfortable to free yourself from that belief. Because whoever I'm speaking to, this is likely something that you have dealt with for a very good chunk of your life. I'm not saying it was consistent, from the moment you were born until this point today, but I do feel that there is likely been this experience where it just feels like you can come up for air for like a few seconds and then you're being pulled right back down under the waves. Like I'm getting pictures of like when someone goes surfing, being pulled under the water and just dragged back down over and over again. That's how I'm seeing this. So your life, what you have experienced may have felt like that, right? It may have felt as though you're just constantly trying to come up for air, And the minute that you feel like you're finally maybe catching your breath, it seems as though, or there's a feeling that, there's this feeling of being dragged back beneath the waves. And if that is indeed true, it's no surprise that this would be a challenge. It's no surprise that this would be uncomfortable. It's no surprise that it would take time and patience and grace and God. It's not surprising at all. So acknowledge that. Acknowledge that you are a human being. Acknowledge that this is a story that you have been living for however long. And acknowledge that it's okay. That this is something that you're having to work through. That you're having to be patient with yourself about. It doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. It doesn't mean that you're not worthy. It doesn't mean that you've just squandered all of this work you've done. No. That's not what it means. It means you're a human. It means you have emotions. It means that you experienced something that impacted you deeply. And that doesn't just go away. However, this is also bringing forth that it doesn't have to be that way. This is putting the power back in your hands. You're only in bondage so long as you choose to be so. This is putting the power back in your hands. But if you find yourself slipping back into familiar stories, all it's telling you is that there's more to be done yet. There are still things that have to be worked through, and that's okay. Forgive me, you guys. I was so into this reading that I didn't realize that my camera was not in its proper position and actually was moving. So I do apologize for that. Hopefully we're okay now. But we also have the Ace of Cups here in the reverse, followed by the High Priestess also in the reverse. I feel the reason why it's been so hard to free yourself from this story is because I don't know if you've known anything else. I feel like a vast majority of your life you've identified with this story, whatever it may be for you, whatever you've endured. And for some of you, it's been a lot. It's been a lot, which is why I feel as though this whole process has been so challenging. It's been so demanding, which is another reason why I feel as though you've been kept separate from, in order to give you the space to be able to figure out your truth, to find yourself again. There's a very real feeling of, this is all I've known. Can I please have final messages that will best support and serve? Thank you. Yes, that's so beautiful. Final messages for whoever's still listening, please. All right, we will take those. The first card out here is unity. The way this is coming through feels as though it's speaking to the unity or the union that you have been creating with yourself, coming back home to yourself, coming into union with yourself, with God within you, Christ within you. Freedom. Okay. I'm hearing, oh, what is it, please? Thank you. Independence Day, Martina McBride. Let freedom ring. Let the white dove sing. The message coming through with this is just like, are you serious right now? Okay. You will not free yourself from the story before you come into union with yourself. Does that make sense? I feel as though it feels like you've been building this union with yourself, right? There's been this work being done to unify you. Is that a word? Yes, that's a word. There's been this work done to bring you into union with yourself in order to free you from these stories. Let me rephrase that. Freedom comes as a result of coming into union with yourself, of being in this state of non-resistance. It's like, if you really want to let this go, if you really want to move on, if you really want freedom, you have to come into union with yourself. You cannot be in this state of resistance to your truth. Does that make sense? Because the denial of truth is what keeps us caged. It is the bars of the prison we place ourselves in. It is the bonds that hold us. And I feel for someone listening, this has been a struggle. Because there's someone listening who has been having conversations with God, having conversations with Christ, the angels, their higher self, whatever you insert word here. Been having conversations. And those conversations have revealed the truth of your being. Meaning, God is within you. Christ is within you. You are a living, walking, breathing embodiment of the divine. You are a child of God. You are the embodiment of the cosmos in human form. There's a lot of programming and a lot of trauma or wounding. that can convince us that we are unworthy, that we are less than, that we are that we don't matter, right? That we're small, that we're insignificant, that we're infantile, that we are being punished. You know, we can go on for days and days and days. And so having these conversations with that which is greater than yourself and being introduced to the very real truth that Christ is within you, it's really addressing the struggle to acknowledge your own divinity. There's a feeling of, that can't be true. I'm unworthy. I'm less than. Like, I can feel the aversion to that. I can feel, like, I can feel the resistance. So if I say something like, for example, in the Bible, Christ says, greater things than I will you do, or something along those lines. Think about that for a moment. How many of us, and as we should, rightfully so, see Christ as something unattainable, something untouchable, something far beyond our reach? In all reality, Christ is within you. It's not far at all. At all. It is within you. And yet, we, for some reason, believe that it can be touched. That Christ is out of our reach. That divinity is out of our reach. Christ says, I am the way, the truth, right? In order to free yourself, you must come into union with yourself. Christ is within you. So, logically, one could conclude, quite simply, that if we want to free ourselves, right, the way to the kingdom of heaven, the way to get off the wheel of samsara, the way is by coming into union with Christ within. That is how you free yourself. Not just from the wheel of samsara, but from the stories that you've been telling yourself, from the stories that you've been repeating, from the stories that you've been perpetuating, right? It's by coming into union with unconditional love. It's coming into union with Christ within you. It's coming into union with the truth of who you are. That is how we free ourselves. And this is no small undertaking. It's, and even in the Bible, Christ says as much, like, this is not an easy path, and the way is narrow. And he says that for a reason. He's not just taking up space, okay? He's not just, saying it just for funsies. He says that because the way is narrow. He says it because not everyone will do this. They won't. And that's not arrogance. That's just truth. Because it is that challenging. Because it requires that much. Christ sacrificed his life in a most horrific way. Christ asks us to sacrifice all of the things that are not him. And it's painful. That being said, give yourself some grace. Because what you are being asked to do is to sacrifice all of who you thought you were. It's being asked to sacrifice the stories, the identity you've built up, the identity that has been built for you through programming or whatever the story is. It is not easy. It feels like dying because there are parts of you that are. And if you can come to terms with that, if you can accept that, that is where you're going to find freedom. Cause and effect. You are aware that the love you create in your thoughts is an agent of change and the foundation of your results. Coming into union with yourself is what sets you free. Cause, effect. Union, freedom. But you have to get out of your comfort zone. There are so many gems in these messages. It's mind-boggling. But if you're still here and you're still listening, you should be so proud of what you've done. Only by casting yourself into the fire could you have arrived at this point. And that is something to be celebrated. That is something to be recognized, acknowledged. So please, do not think that what you've done is in any way insignificant. That what you have done is in any way easy, or that people just do this, because they don't. They really don't. A vast majority of people will not do what you have done. All of this has been to bring you to this point where you come into union with the truth of who you are and set yourself free, so that the stories of this earthly plane do not impede on your divine purpose, on how you can be of service to humanity on behalf of God. Whatever position God has for you, whatever purpose God has for you to fulfill, it would not be possible if you were ruled by the earthly plane. What do I mean by that? If you are someone who has attachments to the physical world and to material things, or to certain people, relationships, certain stories, this, that, and the other, you would not be someone who could be a vessel for God in the same way. You would not be able to function in that position in the way that God needs you to, being guided and led by Christ, by the angels, if your focus, if your ties are to the earthly plane in the same way that they may have been previously, or if your ties were to the same stories that you've been telling yourself. For example, how could one help to lead others out of darkness if they themselves have not found their way out? So whatever you have been going through, it has not been in vain. It has not been for nothing. God has a purpose for your life, and God needs you to be in a position where the only voice that matters is the one within you, is the one that comes from Christ within you, the angels within you, God within you, your higher self, right? It has to be, that has to be the guiding force. It can't be the earthly stories that you've told about your life. It can't be the experiences that you've had defining who you are. No, God has needed you to move from a place of, I am here on behalf of God as a child of God. I am here to do this work. This has been incredible. And I pray that something here has provided you with confirmation, has blessed you in some way, shape, or form, has given you some kind of something as it relates to your story and what you may be going through currently. And I pray that you allow yourself to see who you truly are. And when you do, I pray you don't hide from it. I pray you embrace it. I pray you welcome it. And I pray that you share it with every single person you meet. Take care of your learning, growing, magnificent, evolving soul. Peace be with you and within you. And I hope to see you in another chat. I'm sending so much love your way. Take care. Bye.